All right. So yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at some matches. Today I'll look at uh, they have in Japan a fight series that they've been doing, Catherine Fight Crab, um, where they play a whole bunch of games, including Catherine Full Body, and then also Fight Crab is the other game that they play a lot of, hence the name. Um, It's a whole bunch of people. I mean, you can kind of see at the bottom of the screen here, they have a number of people who all hang out and play. But the concept of the fight crab thing was it seems like they have like 6 players in particular, and they play a series of matches over several months. Um, so it seems really cool. This was this month's match here, or this month's bracket. Um, was pretty cool. It was a little bit of an upset. I think it was the first time that Reza takes it over Kim. The final standings look like I think Reno, MST, and then Leza, which is just a little bit strange. Considering, well, not strange, but it's definitely the first time I think a major upset like that has happened because I think Kim has historically taken it over Leza, and it was just an interesting match. I saw this was their losers match, so I just wanted to kind of look at it, record some of my thoughts on it, and see where that gets us. I think they play on Clock Tower twice, which is kind of interesting. Typically, I think this one seems more like it's how do I want to say this? Typically more in favor of one player. Um, but I don't know if that's necessarily true. I think the meta is at a point now where it seems about even. It just is more so you have kind of set plays that you want to do. So let's see here. Um, let's see. Is there a way I can adjust the settings on here? Speed. Let's slow it down a little bit. Let's put that 0.5. Can I just slowly control the frames a little bit? All right, cool. Yeah, yeah, but so the star is kind of the stereotypical, right? What player one has to go down the middle here because they get the priority. That is to say, if 2P also tries to contest the middle, because of port priority, 1P will always win and will always get a drop kick down here, right? And that's pretty bad. Um, so yeah, they don't you don't want to do that as 2P. So as 2P, your only option really is to pull this. Sometimes you can see players pull something like this, or sometimes maybe they'll do something tricky. But as a general rule of thumb, you're going to just see the same starts um, on this map. So, but it doesn't necessarily mean that 1P gets the advantage because you'll see usually 1P has to wait up here because the first player to get up here, if they just pull kind of like carelessly, sometimes 2P can be like directly behind them and can kind of leapfrog it. So you just have to be a little bit careful. Here it looks like they're going to split. There's always one of these, right, that splits the sides. Clock Tower is interesting because it kind of turns into, in full body, one of these stages where like the pieces keep getting caught on like one section, and so eventually it kind of turns into like a dead end pretty quickly for one of the sides. But it's one of the stages where it's kind of ambiguous as to which one is actually going to be the dead end. So Leza uses his juice there. Here was an opportunity, right? He could have came down for a drop kick, but that's fine. Um, typically, I mean, this is one of those things where I don't know if I would say you want to pull that. I think as 1P, maybe what your option should have been, especially in full body, is maybe to drop here, preemptively spider. Because if you're spidering in this position, you can either convert and then pull this, which would be safe. Pretend that this block is still here, right? Um, the player standing here, they have priority over this block and this block. And then doing a push on one of the heavy blocks it takes too long. So really, I think that a spidering and then waiting to see if 2P tried for the drop kick, you could do a reversal, which would be nice. Or if not, then you can just continue climbing on the right side. That would be my suggestion there. But that's fine because Leza instead opts to climb, which, now you're in this position too as 1P where you tossed away your block that would have helped you climb. So you had to spend a little bit. You had to go back. Oh yeah, I guess the other thing I should note about this play is that this is all online as well. So in Japan, the online infrastructure is like good enough to play at least, but it still does have problems. So if I see somebody doing something completely outrageous, I'll just chalk it up to, oh yeah, I was online, that was a misinput or something like that. So just trying to look at the general strategy here, which is just, because Kim is player 1, so you would expect him to have the priority and win here, but it looks like I think Leza takes it. So yeah, there, I mean, I don't know. If you're Kim, maybe what I would have done is to push this block in too, because then that would, force this whole thing to fall. But, especially because he keeps pushing the heavy blocks, which are just, I don't know. You typically want to avoid doing that if you can, right? Let's look at that whole play one more time here. So he comes up, blah, blah. He gets his 3x3. Okay, so he's at this point, which is fine. I mean, you're going to try to climb up, right? That's your natural instinct. So you're going to climb, and now you're going to toss it here. Maybe I would argue that with your 3x3, you would get a little bit more out of it if you used it here. Because if you used it here, you could still, it would connect, right? I mean, it's 3D. It's a 3x3, so it would connect to there, and you would be fine. You'd be able to walk to here. But that's fine too. Yeah, maybe I would even say if you wanted to get up to here and use it, that way you could step up to this guy. That might be reasonable. But at this point in the game, you're behind a little bit. You guys are near the top, so your pressure is on. So you're just going to be tossing that block as soon as you can, which is fine. But as a result of tossing it down here is that you have to interact with this block now, and that's a heavy block. And again, you're at the top, so you kind of probably don't want to do that if you don't have to. But if you're going to do it, I would say you probably want to do a push and then a push this in too to interact with this block for sure. But let's see, right, because he's going to do a push, right? And you see how if he would have actually been up here, or even if he would have gotten on top of this block, right? If he would have tossed from here, that would have connected out to, sorry, my perspective there is a little off. That would have connected out to here, right? He would be able to walk on there, and that would hang because of this block. Or, alternatively, if he would have tossed from that block, it would have constructed there, and he would have been able to go from there to there. So it would have been a lot more involved in this action, as opposed to this, which led him a little bit down. So I would say maybe the overall lesson would be that if you're behind and you have the 3x3, it's tempting to use it as soon as you can, like, start to do a climb, but really you should go as far up as you can with the 3x3. You don't want the 3x3 to be low. You want the 3x3 always to be as high as it can when you toss it. This is going to be good. This is going to be a reversal for... I didn't like that from 2P. I'm trying to think if 2P could have done something different here, right? I mean, he pulled this, so this was connected up here. Let me see if I can do a solve here, right? So there was a block here and here. That is a little bit tricky, I guess. I don't know if there's a really good solve. Maybe you could do something where you come up, and then push this out. This guy and this guy falls, right? And then you come over to here, and then you push this, and this block would fall, along with this block. And that would give you something? Would it give you something? Oh, it would give you control over this block now. I think. Unless I'm looking at the perspective a little wrong. It's kind of hard to tell. Especially because online, right, actually splits the screen so that they're two separate players, so I'm looking at it from 1P's perspective, so it's a little bit tricky to see. But I think there's some potential to do some stuff up here. You don't want to do a pull down here because it leads you into this situation where all 1P really has to do realistically right here is just sit here. But Japan likes to do this, which is pretty cool. They like to spider around the back. This shape comes up a lot in whatever this map is. Clock Tower. In Full Body's Clock Tower. But Reza's just going to follow him. So I would say if you're 1P, maybe you even would just want to sit on this white block now. You don't want to do this. This is bad now because you just gave it to 2P. Right? I don't understand kind of the logic in some of that. And I mean, similarly, really, if you're 2P, what you should do is you should set up a spider defense here. Right? You should spider around and just cover this block because 1P would have to pull and interact with like some heavy blocks. Right? And that just gets ugly real fast. So still need to work a little bit on the spider defense, I think. Instead, both players... Yeah, you see how 1P would have been trapped there, but 2P is just like, yeah, it's alright. And then 1P does something interesting here. You probably didn't want to do that. I mean, clearly you didn't want to do that. But the actual way to solve this, right, would have been push this out and then spider around the outside. This is where Japan, like, their natural tendency, right? It's a similar shape to this behind the stage thing, except now you have this block here which blocks it. So their tendency to want to do this, which is the faster route if this block isn't here, kind of hurt Kim a little bit there. You don't want to do the push in that way. You want to do... this is the only time where I would advocate for pushing the heavy block and then going around the outside. So, just some of my thoughts there. Because now you're in this position where you're trapped, right? He's going to have to spend a little bit of time fixing this. Let's see what he does here. He goes there. I'll chalk it up to maybe a misinput. I mean, here you're dead, right? Because now you can't spider back around because of this block. Cuts it off. I'll chalk that one up to, oh yeah, behind the stage shenanigans, because when you do get behind, right, the controls get reversed. So that's reasonable. But yeah, let's see. Round 2 here. I wonder how long I was talking about that nonsense. Like 12 minutes or something, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, you'll probably see 1P, right, go right up the middle. 2P here opted to do that. But that's why you want to be a little bit careful. Right, that's the advantage for 1P, is that heavily in the early game 1P can control it. Sometimes you can try to pull a fast one, right, if the other guy isn't expecting it, and that's what Reza was doing. But thinking about that, I don't know if that necessarily gives you really much of anything if you're 2P. You know what I mean? Like, if you go to the middle as 2P, you're still behind 1P, right? So I also don't like 1P going this way. I think that up and to that block is better than just straight across as 1P, personally. That's just my slight player preference, but yeah, you probably don't want to do this at all, because I just don't know what that necessarily gives you. You know? I could see... I mean, something that I could see... Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to theorize too heavily about what 2P can do here, because already, right, these are kind of the established openings, I would say. Maybe you could do anything with these three is really your bread and butter, and you just have to be a little bit careful, because anywhere here, right, this is the danger zone. These blocks are the danger zone for sure. Actually, I guess all of this is the danger zone. So you just gotta be really careful when you do that. Maybe you could do something with some kind of push, but that's like too meta for me right now. Anyway, yeah, so 1P. Let's see, this is last round, right? Here's 1P again, goes straight down the middle. 2P doing the pull. 1P has to wait a little bit. 2P comes on up. You see there's that 2 block, so you kind of want to connect to this side if you can. 1P had a great idea. I mean, if you're 2P, it worked out there, but I'll chalk that one up to online. You got to be super careful, because this whole column here is just, drop kick and then all the way down. That's a full ladder, so that's really bad. So I would avoid trying to get that middle area. I would have just conceded it, personally. Now here is fine. Here 1P actually has to be careful, because if they follow up and 2P gets the push out, this block here sets up pretty nice to be, well, actually that's not too bad, but what you're going to try to do is you're going to try to do a reversal and then knock them off, right? You'll get them into a pin, push this block out, go down, reversal. But it's not a true combo in this one because you can spider around the back end, right? If one of these, if both of these were pushed in, then it would be true because they wouldn't be able to move. But anyway, that's something that you sometimes see on this map is a drop kick right here because of this depth, from this. Or similarly, you see it on the sides as well. Typically, you see it on 2P side because, again, 1P has the priority, so they are already on this landing. And so they try to attack 2P, and so you'll either see this kind of reversal shenanigans on the side or in the middle, which is what 2P was going for there. He gets a nice item out of that if he wants it. Might take him a little bit. There it is. That's nice. Now 2P has a little bit of catching up to do. I don't know if I agree with the item pool, but I guess, or with the block pool, but it does grant him an item, so that's kind of okay. 2P is just going to follow the same path as 1P, I would think. Which is, one of these things where if I'm 2P, I'm trying to think, well, what am I kind of messing up here? Maybe one thing I would have liked to see right here with 1P is to push this, because this guy would fall, and he would fall on top of here, right? And that would make it where 2P cannot actually use his drink to get up. Because he needs this space to be clear to grab it. So that could be kind of cool. The other thing that might just work would have been maybe pulling this, right? That gives you a nice 2 landing here to then come around to here to spider, right? That, again, grants you that nice shape that Japan likes to climb around the back end and come up. I guess and actually it does give you a kind of nice situation where this block now falls and it'll be hanging here, and I guess that's not super nice because 2P will be able to get up to here, climb on top, and then be able to spider around and use the same platform. So that's something to keep in mind too. So yeah, I think what does work best is up, push, pull. I think works out in a really nice shape here. And again, what I was saying earlier, right, about what map is this? This is Clock Tower? Yeah, Clock Tower. What works out really nice, or what doesn't work out really nice, is that the stage kind of does these dead ends, right? Where 2P looks like he has a nice landing here, but actually the stage is already caught and going to be on the right side. So, let's see where this ends up here, right? He does this pull. Let's see, right? You're going to see 2P, exactly what I was talking about, right? 2P can get up here. Okay, they opt to do some kind of pushing here. I don't agree with that from 2P. If I'm 2P, I would try to challenge this, especially since there's a block there and you're there faster. But okay. Yeah, like if I'm 2P, I'm just looking at this. I don't know if this really grants me anything. I mean, maybe you'd have to do something where you can push this over too, and then maybe you kind of get this nice structure, right, where you can push this guy out and push this guy out, and something happens there. But that kind of throws a little bit too much out of it. I think that you kind of want to avoid climbing from inside the tower. And what I mean by that is where you have like, this tiger's mouth, right, where you have a block, a block, a block in this triangle, and then you're in the middle of that. You kind of want to avoid that because it's very difficult to climb, right? Because there's something blocking you off. So that's why a lot of times in Catherine, right, you're going to be pulling into the foreground to climb into the background. It's very difficult to climb from within. There are a few shapes that allow it, but as a general rule, I think that's mostly true. Okay. So he is out of juice here. So 2P is kind of in a rough position. This is where you might be able to do something where, just because 2P is closer, right? But he doesn't he doesn't have to jump up, so he can't quite get up there. But what you could do, I guess, is you could get up onto that block, push there, and then you'd have to push this twice, and that would make this whole structure collapse onto here. That does put you at kind of a disadvantage, though, because the whole time that you're down here doing pushing shenanigans down here, 1P is up a floor above, right? So they can position, they can spider around to over here and set up for a dropkick on you. So this will be an intense little fight here. I think right now I would say that 2P has a pretty big advantage. If I'm 2P, actually, all I would do is just spider here. Because then 1P wouldn't be able to go anywhere, right? 1P would have to drop off here and then maybe walk over and try to do some stuff down at the bottom, which that seems a little bit nutty. So if I'm 2P, I think body blocking with the spider would be good. But let's see. Yeah, instead he's going to stand up here, right? Now both players are here, which this is going to... I feel like this is probably going to turn into like a reversal battle, which, I don't know. I think that you kind of want to avoid those if you can. But let's see what happens. Oh, okay. It was actually a little bit off. Oh, yeah, alright. Now this is getting even more tricky. This is tricky now because of this block here. I think if I'm 2P... I mean, if you're 2P, right, why don't you just spider over and then up? Right? Toss and then just completely over. Instead, you're going to do this fight here. Or once you get the drop kick, you could just go up and spider. And it might be a little bit scary because you might be scared of 1P pushing this, which is definitely very valid. But I also think at this point that might be okay because if 1P does that, they also do not have the way to victory. Um, so that also then lets you get control over this block if you drop down to here, right? So then you could push this, and if you push that, they'll start to drop, and it'll be interesting, I think. So I think that definitely, just going for the spider to the win is the safest route. Instead, they got to go for this thing, right? Which, yeah, okay, interesting. Yeah, I mean it's not going to work out. That's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes, right? All right, let's see. What do we got? What do we got? Oh, clock tower again. All right, cool. Let's see if it takes me another 20 minutes to get through another game of clock tower. Let's see. Opening, same one from 1P, same one from 2P, like we were saying. Blah, blah, again in the middle. I've seen this movie before. 2P kind of does this. This is kind of cool. This is a cool idea. The nice part, right, about being behind is that when you push this in, it lets you push this whole row, and every single block has a separate chance to spawn items. And so because of that, being behind a little bit might be nice because it lets you spawn these. Now the bad thing, right, about full body is that all the item spawns are random. So, whereas before in Classic, if you're behind, you have a higher chance to spawn X, and here you have just as likely to spawn Skull as you do X Factor. So that makes it a little bit less viable in full body, but it does make it situations like this a little bit better, right? Because if you push and you spawn 6 items, odds are one of those will be an X. So here this kind of works out for 2P. So you're going to see, no, he doesn't go for the items that he spawned. I'm a little bit surprised. I guess he thought that he was a little bit too far behind to do it, but I think he could have got X and then used it, right? Burned one of the uses, but then still been in the race. Especially because now he's kind of in a weird spot. 1P, you see here is this shape. He's going to go around the backside. Yep, and he gets that nice block as well. I don't think I would climb from here if I was 1P. I think I would have transitioned over to this side. Some of my ideas here are that on Clock Tower, you don't want... In some respects, you don't want to keep climbing, even though it's very appealing, I would say, or very intuitive that you would want to climb. But I think that Clock Tower's shape allows it in such a way where you can control the climbing spots much easier than on other stages. Because you know that, pretty much this whole side of the map is not spawning the goal, right? It's not spawning where you have to go. And so because of that, it makes it a little bit easier for 1P or whoever is in control of the spawning side, the climbing side. It makes it a little bit easier to control the critical points, right? If I'm 1P really, and this block is here or whatever, all I need to do is just stop 2P from crossing over at a few locations. So that would be kind of my idea about clock towers. That I think you want to break it down to more crucial control points instead of trying to climb ahead. Because when you do this, right, especially anytime that you also want to avoid lowering the tower as much as possible, because anytime you do that, it makes it more feasible for the other side to cross over at some point in time. He has to go one more up and then over. Yep, that's fine. Blah blah. Like here, right? Like if I'm looking at this and I'm 2P and I'm 1P, maybe what I would do, honestly, is like pull this and start to create a kind of pull this and then maybe bring it over and try to create some kind of structure where 2P cannot ever get up, right? Because now if 2P comes here, I think that the directions work out maybe where they can easily get up here. Um, it's a little bit tricky to tell. No, no, it wouldn't be super easy, but 2P, it looks like they're going to go over here and try to force this to fall out. No, no, they're just climbing. Um, this is going to cause a little bit of mayhem for 1P now. He's going to be in a little bit of a rough spot. Let's see. What do you do as 1P here? This one's a little bit messy. All right, 2P's going to save the day for 1P, I guess. Um, at this point... Oh, oh, I didn't realize that wasn't going to hang there. That's my bad as well. Uh, yeah, I mean, this is a scary spot because here is definitely, you're going to get pinned and then going to get possibly reversaled. Um, I think I would have instead preferred going on the outside. Going on the outside and then pulling this might have been good, I think. That's my instinct. But things get a little bit wonky. Oh. All right. So let's continue. Had to pause there for a second. Okay, this is going to be an interesting shape. 2P is going to be a little bit of an advantage here with the item. I don't know what the best place to use it. I mean, obviously, right? All right. So obviously 2P wants to get here, use his item, and then come up, and then presumably there's a way he can climb up here. I think, yeah, things get tricky. I don't know what you should do as 1P, I guess. If I'm 1P, maybe I'm trying to set up to where even if 2P gets ahead, I'm able to control this structure. So maybe I'm going to do something with the block that he's currently standing on and this block, just to keep that open-minded. Let's see what actually happens when 2P gets his item. I don't like the block instead there. I don't like it there for the fact that it also helps 1P. It creates structure, which you probably just don't want to do. You probably just want to be in advantageous as possible without helping the opponent. Now here, this is very good for 2P, right? 2P can just stand here for pretty much ever because this is a heavy block, right? So if 1P goes to push this out, 2P in the meantime can drop, pillow hit, and then this will drop on top and do a squish. So that's pretty exciting. And then 1P can't do anything, so this does work out, I guess. Now, if I'm 1P, maybe I would actually take the opportunity to pull this way, because that gives you more height than 2P. If you pull this way, it's kind of a little bit bad because 2P can drop on top of you. So that is what I would think. Let's see what actually plays out here. He does this push, push. Yeah, that's just a full body thing. It started falling and then he pulled into it. Unfortunate. Going into the last game here, what do we got? Same kind of opening. That's cool. 2P crossing over early. Is he going to do the opposite this time? No. Okay, he got his X, so that's kind of nice. I would expect him to use his X, obviously on this spot. So if I'm 1P, this is where you kind of have to play a little bit of, oh, well, what's best for me, what's best for the other guy, and then compare your positions, right? If 2P wants to get here, to obviously use his X to jump up to here, maybe what 1P should keep in mind is that 1P wants to stand here, right, with the opportunity to drop kick to here, right, which actually, yeah, which works out kind of okay, because, 2P will get knocked here. He can't do a full combo, right? They're a little bit too high up to do the full ladder. But what that might give you the opportunity to do is to then pull this. That might be reasonable after that you get the drop kick, which then also stops 2P from coming up. Right now, it is a heavy block, right? So you have to be a little bit careful because you don't know, 2P is then going to try to push this row. I think you'll have enough time to move over, but if not, that's okay because this is also a heavy block. So the same time that it took you to do this, it'll take 2P to do that, which is not bad. It puts you at about even. It does put you maybe at a little bit disadvantageous position, but actually not because you'll be in control of this block, which you can pull, which then you'll have your full way up. So that would be my thoughts is 1P, you want to stand here and watch this, Or maybe you want to do something where you spider here, right? You're doing like a fake out, right? 2P is going to be, 1P's climbing. So if 1P at this point now spiders to here and wraps around to here to readily drop and then drop kick, that would be pretty good. That would be my suggested play. Instead, 1P is going to stand here and just burn some time, right? 2P is not going to use his item, and he also chose like the worst block to pull, so I don't know what's going through his mind right here. But let's see, right? I mean, 1P, this is, again, right, you're seeing this shape where you got this kind of V shape, right? Everything's anchoring on this side, and the left side is just, it's becoming less and less valuable as time goes on. It's a negative interest. Right, you see now 2P did a nice pull there, which 1P could have done while 2P was pulling, right? Now this does get a little bit messy because there's less blocks, there's less depth here. Now 2P will be able to solve that issue because of his 3x3, which now gives this shape a lot of depth. Unfortunately, he used it in a position where it's going to give 1P a position to go as well. If 1P is a little bit slow, this does come down and kind of caps him, and I think that would actually be game. No, it wouldn't be. He could just push in. But yeah, that would be kind of a pain. But 1P gets out of there. Now there's kind of like this checkerboard formation. If I'm 2P, I don't know. Maybe I would do a real quick push this because the idea, right, would be that, I don't want 1P to cross over. I don't know if there's a block behind this heavy block. I don't know if there's one like right here. I don't know if there's something underneath of that for that to anchor onto. There might be, which, would make this block over there a little bit not so satisfying. But yeah, I mean, if you push this, right, it does force 1P to go around this way, which does give you as 2P the opportunity to stand here and watch, right? So that's what I'm thinking. Let's see what actually happens. I have a feeling that 2P probably pushes this, but doesn't. Yeah, right. This turns out kind of nice, I think. 1P has his items, so that's not going to be as good for 2P. Maybe if you're 2P, you can do something where you push and then pull, right, and then go around and then up, right? Especially because now you have control over this, so you could even push this block, and then that would mess with, the tricky part here, right, is where this side is not going to be good for climbing. It's going to be a lot of pain. And I'm sure we'll see that. Players are going to have to cross over to this right side, which 1P gets an item, so he's able to do that, 2P gets a nice little structure there. This is the reverse of the shape that Japan likes. I wonder if they're going to use it, right? Instead of, usually you come in on the right and then cross over to the left, but this one it's on the left, and then you could spider around the back to get this. And then, of course, right, that gives you a nice use right there. But you have the issue 1P is right here, which does lead into a ladder, which is bad. So maybe if you're 2P, probably what you want to do is you want to push. Let me clear up the screen a little bit. You probably want to push this in. That way 1P cannot cross over. He also has this kind of dead block, right? He can't, if he tosses it here, it doesn't do him any good. So if I'm 2P, maybe I would take the opportunity to push and then pull and then, try to make this work because you'll have some time after you push this block where 1P can't get up. That would be my idea. Because when you do that, 1P just kind of lets it happen, which is fine. 2P does take advantage of this, and this is going to be super good for 2P. 1P has to use his item and just kind of stay in the game, which is fine. If I'm 2P, maybe I would have stood here and tried to watch this. Um, yeah, because what would have been kind of nice would have been stand here, 1P comes over, get the drop kick, 1P drops to here, um, and then what you could do is you could follow up, drop down, you'll hit him to here, right? So now he's spidering along the outside. And you don't want to stand here, right, because you don't want to get reversal. But what that allows you to do is it gives you enough time to get on top of this block, which this block is kind of crucial because 1P won't be able to get up here and do anything. They'll have to instead go around to here and do a push-in, which is kind of going to be a little bit tricky, but works out for you much better, I think, than keeping them so close to you. So that would be my thoughts on this interaction here. I think, oh yeah, and 1P misses. That would have been well, it wouldn't have been a crazy drop kick, right? I mean, they get a drop kick here, they hang on to here, they spider, they go up again. So it wouldn't have been too bad. It might have been actually pretty bad, I guess, because then 1P pushes this over, right, and then this blocks off, so they can't just easily come up. 2P does have this X, which 1P should be aware of, so he has to be fighting him. He's trying to get up, but you can see right now the position has slightly changed where everything's anchoring on this guy. So there's not going to be any ceiling or room for 1P to climb. 2P, there's a little bit of a kerfluffle here. If I'm 1P, probably what you should do is you should probably come over here and spider here for some spider defense. I don't know what he actually ends up doing. He just kind of, okay, so they're both now going to be fighting over this block. You're going to be able to get pillow hit. You're going to be able to pull. No, you're just going to stand there. That's you have to then come over and instantly hit him because otherwise he's going to get up. And I think that's going to be game unless he does something here. If I'm here, I would probably push this. That's a good push. You want to do that instead. Yep. Oh, that is unfortunate that the timing was so strange. There is a block on the back here, so you will need to do, if you're planning to push this out, you'll need to do that as well. Probably what you want to do is you probably want to do a pull here as well. You don't want to do a push. But I don't know. I mean, they are at the top, so I don't know if there's enough time to do this. Okay, he goes for a push there, which was a little bit cheeky. You gotta do stuff here, my man. Do it. There you go. Nice. Here, I would have grabbed that block. It's going to be super important. I would also spider. You don't want to step on this row because it's, yeah, you don't want to push down there either. Yeah, I'm trying to think what you would have been able to do. It looked like this was pretty much the end, though, anyway, because even with this immovable block, I'm not sure what you would have been able to do. Actually, no, 2P still had his juice. Otherwise, it could have been kind of okay. It gets a little bit tricky, right? Because the only thing you can really realistically do on this side of things is you can either push this or you can pull this, right? You don't want to pull because if you pull, then you have to pull again, and then you have to do a push to make things work, which that's just going to take too long since that'll be on the last row. So you have to push. When you push, these guys come down. That's going to be 2 of them. Is that going to be enough? I don't know because 2P is going to be on top of here. So, I think 1P was done. I don't think there was anything that would have worked out. I guess, technically speaking, if he wouldn't have pushed this block would still be here, right? Oh yeah, check out my dimensions here. Right, this block would have still been here. Does that grant you anything? If you push this, this guy comes down. You could spider back around and then throw your item inward. That might be okay, but again, you have this problem of 2P is going to be on top of this block, and so when you throw there, they have control over that, and since it's immovable, you can't really do anything with it. Is there something else you could have done? Probably not. Yeah, I think that would have been it. Which is a shame. It is a big shame. But yeah, that was good play. I think what I was a little bit disappointed in was that, or maybe disappointment's not the right word, but what I would have liked to see was a little bit less. It still seems like things are very climbing focused over in Japan right now, at least these guys, which is fine. I would have liked to see kind of the next level of, or at least what I would describe as the next level is like recognizing what your opponent needs as well, and then utilizing control over those blocks. Um, I guess coming from Classic, we're a little bit more conditioned to do it because Spider defense was so heavy, was so big back then. And so that kind of naturally leads into, okay, well, where can I just stand and things will be fine? As opposed to full body, things are a little bit trickier because you can be hit while on the same level in Spider defense, so it is nerfed a little bit. But in general, there were a couple situations, especially on Clock Tower, which is just so there are so many like crucial points. Full body is interesting because the items and how many there are and how they spawn kind of open up the potential for the creation of critical points, which makes it hard to defend. But also on stages like Clock Tower, they're naturally easier to defend as well. So I think that it kind of balances out to where it's a good strategy to go for on Clock Tower, especially early in the game. You can set up for, just because of the way that the structure is, you can set up pretty good for drop kicks and ladder combos. Um, so it was just a little bit too much climbing for me. I was a little bit confused why Leza dropped one of the games, one of the rounds, by crossing over early to one piece side. I don't think there's anything that you gain by crossing over to the other person's side. I think that two piece should just keep it simple, and just climb. Um, do what works, right? Don't try to do anything super tricky because that's how you get punished. Um, yeah. Overall though, that was pretty cool. I definitely like, a lot of Laze's play has really cleaned up. I think from when I played him back in, I guess, February now. Um, he's a superstar Babel player, so of course he's going to be super climbing focused, so that's good. But it's nice to see him do some of these scrambles. I think Kim. I think he's is sometimes aggro when he shouldn't be aggro. Like there was that one point right where he had the win with the dark block, and instead he goes for this crazy like scramble situation, which cost him that game, cost him that round. Um, I just, sometimes you just gotta go for the win when it's there, my man. You know what I mean? uh, but good stuff. Good stuff. Very happy to see these games. I like watching Catherine. It's tough. You gotta go through in slow motion to keep up with everything because there's just so much to talk about at all times. But anyway, yeah, I'll probably go over some of the other sets um, in this bracket. Probably go over a little bit more of that too. Um, this was like my second time I think I watched this set. I haven't seen the others yet, so that'll be exciting to go through. Um, yeah, so cool. Thanks for watching.